So let's go to the definition. Again, let's read the definition of goods and services.
Section 2, subsection 48. Goods means every kind of movable property other than actionable claim and money, but includes securities, growing crops, grass and things attached to or forming part of the land which are agreed to be severed before supply or under the contract of supply. Explanation. For the purpose of this clause, the term movable property shall not include any intangible property.
So we have goods definition. Every kind of movable property. So immovable property is not goods, which is perfect, but includes securities. So essentially they have picked up the definition from the Sale of Goods Act and not from the current VAT regime. Most of the VAT laws do not include securities within the definition of goods. We now have a situation, the law says goods includes securities. This can have widespread implications because most of us would be trading in the stock markets day in and day out. Securities will include shares, units and derivatives. So unless they put securities in a schedule which talks about zero rate, we have a big concern. If they don't put it, expect the index to be half of what it is. They will put it, I'm sure. But if they don't put it, necessarily for every transaction which you do, there is a 20% capital gains tax or exemption. Even that is, we find it tough. But here we are saying on the sale price 20% GST. So if you sell Reliance shares for X rupees, 1/5 of that, for every 5 shares you sell, 1 share you are giving to the government. So that's what we are doing. Services.
Services means anything other than goods.
Very interesting. So goods had a boundary. We said movable assets. So an office is not goods. But is it a service then? It's a thing, right? Office is a thing. So it becomes a service. So from this we come to a situation where even transactions in immobile properties would attract GST. Again, subject to the caveat, if they bring it in zero rate, great. If they don't bring it, you use a factory for 20 years and then sell it, pay a GST on that same price. Over and above the stamp duty which you have. And that's the concern which we are talking about here. So, I am trying to compare the current definitions of services under the service tax law and goods under the VAT law. And I tried to find out what all is excluded right now and what is its impact in the future under the GST regime. So, current definition of service has 5 exclusions, which is used as an acronym called IMAGE. So, we have exclusion for transfer of immobile property. Looking at the way it is drafted, service means anything other than goods. Immobile property is not goods because it is immovable and therefore it becomes a service. So, looking at it, it is no longer excluded. You will have issues of GST coming in on sale of flats, builders will sell TDRs and FSIs. All of that, even if you sell a vacant plot of land, you might end up paying a GST on that. Money excluded, if you look at the explanation, it's excluded both from goods as well as from services, and therefore a transaction purely in money will not attract any GST, which is fair. Actionable claims specifically included in services. Explanation specifically includes actionable claims. You have concerns for gift vouchers, Sodexo coupons, banks sell off their debtors and securitize their debtors. All of those situations you have a problem. So let's look at Sodexo. When Sodexo sells those coupons to you, there will be a tax. They'll apply a GST. Now most of the companies will give these coupons to their employees. We talked earlier that supply to an employee is taxable. So that's again a tax. The same Sodexo coupon, when the company provides it to the employee, there is a GST on that as a deemed supply. Now that employee walks into a restaurant with that Sodexo coupon. Will there be a third tax? He is also supplying to the restaurant. The GST coupon is given. Will there be a tax on the third level? No. No. Because employee is not a taxable person, he is not into business. But the restaurant encashes that Sodexo coupon by settling a bill. Will there be a GST on that? In lieu of the restaurant services. So that transaction will be a GST transaction once again. So all of this is a settlement mechanism, but you have 3 layers of GST in this process. And with inefficient credit chain, so it's going to be a big cascading impact. Maybe these transactions will not survive. Gift vouchers, maybe most of the companies, jewelers, they give gift coupons or they give gift vouchers. You can buy the gift vouchers actually. And then you can gift it to someone who can go to the store and buy some goods. So when that chain gives you the gift voucher, the retail chain gives you the gift voucher, there will be a GST on that. So necessarily the value of that gift voucher reduces. If I pay 1,000 rupees, I'll get a gift voucher only for 800 bucks. That guy will take that 800 bucks voucher and go back to the same store. At that time, he will buy some jewelry. Jewelry is a separate supply, so again GST on that. So 800 actually becomes 640. So that is the concern in actionable claims. Employment contracts, of course, are excluded. Goods, newspapers no longer excluded. So all your morning supplies, between newspapers, milk, bread, eggs, all of that, be ready for GST. Malaysia brought GST in 2015. It's a very small country. This
gift voucher you said,
yes.
It will not come under money. It will
No.
come under the
Money is strongly regulated by RBI. Only RBI can do money. Nobody else can do money. It's a pseudo currency. It's not money.
Loyalty points issued by various retailers.
Loyalty points will be a concern. There also will be a supply. So it's a big, if the big actionable claims, today what happens is such nondescript things, we are able to somewhere bring it in the actionable claims exclusion. And there's a mutual exclusivity goods car definition and service car definition. We talk about 2 laws. Now both of them are synchronized. So loyalty points also will be a concern, definitely. So I was just talking about this Malaysia example. And Malaysia is a small country. April 15 they brought in GST. Their GST rate was 7%. And that 7% GST resulted in an inflation of more than 2% increase. It increased the inflation of the country by 2%. And to the extent that there was a lot of displeasure at the ground level. Now they are trying to ease that pressure. So initially there will be inflation. We are not looking at a 7-8% GST. We are looking at least at 18% and worst case scenario 20% GST. So you can understand the impact on inflation which it will have in the short term and the medium term.